Hi guys. So before we actually get into picking a quote and reading the books and all that kind of stuff, I do want you guys to watch this and take notes. This will be something that obviously will not only help you when we do write the paper for your summer reading, but also for the rest of the year. So what I want to talk about is narrowing your focus and developing a thesis statement. So the first thing is narrowing your focus. So you want to start broad and then whittle the topic down until it feels right. And ideally, a good paper topic should be all the following. Something that's argumentative. So you don't want something that's plot based. It has to be something that you can argue and then support it with details from the works. It can't be super broad because if it's too broad, you can go on and on and on for 10 pages and you don't want that. And you don't want it to be so narrow or specific that you have a hard time actually expanding and using details to support what you're trying to say. So then there's actually developing your thesis. So your thesis statement is the framework or guide for your paper. It has to be strong. It is one sentence, and it tells the reader exactly what it is that you're going to be talking about, what you're going to be discussing, what you're going to be arguing. So the reader should be able to read that statement, which is the last sentence of your introduction, and know exactly what your paper is going to be about and what you're going to be arguing. It's very similar to topic sentences and paragraphs. When you read a topic sentence, you know what the paragraph's going to be about. You read a thesis statement, you know what the paper is going to be about. So there's a couple different things in developing a thesis, and the first is your message and purpose. So you want to ask yourself what point you're trying to make. So this goes along with two different things, making it argumentative and the concept of your quote. So whichever quote you decide to pick, the main idea of that quote is going to encompass your main message and purpose. The second is it has to be a declarative statement. So you don't want to wander away from your point. You want to state what you want to prove with authority. You want to make one sentence and state it simply. The third is a direction. So get out the notes you've taken, whatever you've underlined, if it's your book, whatever you've tabbed, all that kind of stuff. And these ideas will help form the basis of your thesis. Having these supporting ideas and key points in your mind will also help you when it comes time to write your outline because you'll have different main ideas in mind. And the last is clear, concise wording. You do not want to be too wordy. It really takes away from your message and what you're trying to say. The same goes for your writing. If you start getting too wordy and over-explaining, people start to lose focus on what it is that you're actually trying to say. So a good tip for your thesis is to go through it, cross out every single word that is not directly contributing to the main idea. So this is even like a the or and, something like that. And then when you go back, you can add words that are necessary to make the sentence grammatically correct. This is something that you can do throughout the year to help you out. So I came up with a couple basic examples. So the first, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet is odd for a tragedy. That is very, very broad because what is a definition of odd? What is it that you're going to be arguing? How is this argumentative? So if you look at the revision, you can see how it's made a little bit more specific because they talk about the comedic conventions of Elizabethan theater. The second one is also broad. Despite not being formally recognized by most literary scholars as part of the canon, Tolkien is one of the most influential authors of the last century. That is very broad. You could talk about a million different things with that. So that's something that you would have to actually make a little bit more specific. So some final thoughts before you actually get into writing everything. You're analyzing your text. You're exploring an issue, which is the quote, proving a point. And a great paper does this successfully and gives an answer to the question of so what? Why does the reader care what you're trying to say? Why does the reader care what you're trying to prove? And with the two works you're doing that have very heavy topics, that's something that you really want to address. The second thing is that a great paper shows a rational, logical mind at work, and the reader can follow and be convinced by the paper's movement from one idea to the next. So this deals with flow. Do your ideas flow? Do they connect? And that's going to be important. 3, it shows originality of thought, expression, and careful, elegant, and creative choices of words. This is called voice. This is something that's difficult to teach because it's unique to each and every one of you. Not everybody has the same voice. Everybody has a different voice. This is something that you learn and you develop the more and more you write. So the more you do this year, the more you'll be able to see what your voice actually is. And then remember, you're still early in the writing process. You can always go back and change your thesis. You can even change the quote that you do. So as you're creating your outline, after you do your thesis statement for July 31st, and then whatever your perfected thesis statement is in September, you can always go back and alter. It's always easier to alter your thesis statement than it is to go back and alter all the information that you've collected. One sentence is a lot easier than, everything else with all the detail. So good luck. If you guys have any questions at all, whether it's on the books, whether it's on the quotes, anything like that, on this PowerPoint, whatever, email me at elgomez42@gmail.com, and I'll be able to get back to you, and we can fix any problems you have, any questions you might have. All right, so happy writing.